Joe Montgomery here from educationlawyers.com with your April 6, 2020 education law news and update. Had to check the date there real quick. I'm sure like most of you, these days are going by fast and slow, and sometimes it does get hard to keep track of the time and keep track of the days, but getting up, sticking to a routine helps. On a Friday afternoon, you want to tell someone to have a good weekend, but what does that really even mean anymore? But in a way, we're past all that, right? And we get it. We know it's our new normal, so maybe it's not even worth commenting on it. And since Pennsylvania closed schools on March 13th, almost a month ago, and New Jersey followed suit days later, educators, students, and families are all working together to determine how to best provide services at home through cyber education, really emergency cyber education, because it's something that we weren't necessarily prepared for or expecting, but we're doing it, right? And we are encountering some problems, and some of those problems have been the digital divide, which we've spoke about at length, and that's the gap between those that have access to technology and those that don't. And we're finding out that gap is much larger than we ever thought it was. Some other problems we're seeing are training staff, right? Because this is new to teachers and administrators, so we have to get them up to speed on whatever software platform schools decide to use. Tracking attendance has posed a problem as well. While some cyber education software suites do have ways to digitally track attendance, others don't, and some students find it easy to just walk away, especially if they're not sharing video with the rest of the class. Another problem we've seen is determining which classes are more important than others, and it's hard to value classes, but if you're only able to deliver 1 or 2 sessions a day of cyber education, you have to pick which classes to deliver. So that's a tough problem, right? In a way, all classes are equally important, but there comes a time when you have to triage and say, okay, look, we need to teach reading because reading goes across all curricular environments, so it's important for all classes that a child knows how to read. But again, that's another problem that we've seen that might have been unexpected previously. Another problem, figuring out how to balance the need and the desire to challenge students with the ease of overworking a child, especially a child who may be going through mental and emotional uncertainty and be having trouble focusing in school, right? So we want to make sure we're challenging students, but it's easy when you're not actually with the student to just say, here, do all of this work and get it back to me, and not account for whatever other emotional stress may be on the child. Children can be easily overworked with cyber education. The other end of that is children being bored and underworked, which we don't want either. While we look domestically, it's interesting to look into what other countries are doing. China, who was the first to have this virus, COVID-19, ordered all schools shut down in late January. So they've had a few months to deal with this. At first in China, the authorities did not require schools to hold online classes in the interim, but they encouraged it. And they actually started doing all-day TV broadcasting of state-approved lessons in math, language, English, art, and even physical education. China's mantra during this has been stop classes, but don't stop learning. And I love that mantra because it really lines up nicely with the mantra that we've been using, which is time away from school, not time off from school. So we got to remember that we're away from school, we're not off from school. So stop classes, but don't stop learning. Other countries have followed suit with the broadcast TV option, but broadcast TV classes pose many of the same challenges, especially tracking attendance and tracking students' progress, right? At some point, we have to test on the materials, and we'd like to know that the student's actually there working and that someone else from the home isn't completing their work for them. But as far as fixing a problem and moving forward, I think broadcast TV is a great idea, and I feel like it's something that could have easily and still could be implemented in the United States, especially considering, again, the digital divide problem we have, where many students don't have access to technology or broadband internet, but most children, I think, do have access to a television. So what's wrong with taking our local channels and broadcasting core curriculum over these channels? So as the world continues to adapt and innovate, we will continue to report on the changing face of education and the move to cyber education. In other news from Philadelphia, police tell us that Philly carjackers wore medical masks during a robbery. So what's this mean? It means that even the bad guys and girls are taking this seriously, and it means that you should too. In this case, there were 2 suspected carjackers, and both wore protective medical masks and gloves as recommended this weekend by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention in order to prevent the spread of the virus and protect themselves and others from getting the virus. How serious is it to wear a mask? It's serious enough that a man was shot dead in the Philippines for walking around in public unprotected and trying to attack a public healthcare worker who cautioned the man. The president of the Philippines, his words on this: "Without these restrictions, this will not end," he said. "So if you don't want to follow, then I will finish you to protect the lives of the innocent who don't want to die." Tough words coming from the Filipino president, but we do have to follow orders. I don't think that extreme is okay at all, of course. We here as Americans have the freedom to hold our nose up at the warnings, right? We can walk around, we can gather if we want to. I think the worst I've heard is a $100 fine. And that's what makes America great. But what really sets America apart is that we will follow the directives on our own, knowing that we're saving lives. And we need to keep doing what we're doing, because there is some good news out of Jersey that the curve is starting to flatten there, which is great because New Jersey's close to New York and we know how bad New York is. So in the meantime, let's just follow the rules, keep doing what we're doing, and hopefully in a month from now, it'll be a much different world. Be well, America. Joe Montgomery, signing off.